Hi there, and welcome to today's video where, as you can see, we're going to continue our journey with algebra. But before we get to that, I'd just like to invite you to like and subscribe to the channel. And the reason for that is I'd like to know if this math is actually working for you, and a like and a subscription, one, helps a little bit me understand whether or not this is actually working. So if you could smash that thumbs up button or subscribe, and subscribe would probably be better. So let's get started with today. Before we begin, if you haven't already done one-step algebra, we're going to throw a card in the top right-hand corner. This is something that you're probably going to want to revisit and refamiliarize yourself with before you get into two-step. And the reason for that is two-step algebra eventually works its way into one-step algebra. So it's best that you have that foundational knowledge moving forward before you even attempt two-step algebra. Here we go. So what we have here is a two-step algebra equation, and it's two-step because you can see that there are two things that we're going to be doing on this side of the equation itself. I want you to think of this like a scale. It's probably best for us to consider it like a scale. The object of algebra is for us to isolate this guy. It's the only thing that we don't know its value. We know that we've got two groups, we know that we've got three little stragglers, and we know that when all of this together, put together, is equal to 13. And so the concept that we need to understand is that what we do to one side of the algebraic expression is going to be important to do to the other side, so we can keep the scale in balance. What we don't want to do is try to eliminate everything on this side and do nothing to this side. It just won't make sense. So let's contextualize this for a second. Let's draw this out. What I have here is two groups of n. So there's a group of n, and there's a group of n, and we don't know what's in them. And then we know that this has three little stragglers attached to it, and when all of that's together, it's going to be the same as, equals means the same as, 13. So how do we do this? How do we get this n by itself? Well, I want to throw a little bit of an analogy at you. Let's pretend that you're at a dance and you look across the gymnasium and you lock eyes with someone and you're like, wow, I really want to dance with that person, but you can't. Let's say that person that you want to lock eyes with, or that person that you locked eyes with, is n, but you can't get to n because they've got two friends with them as well as three extra people around. So how do you get rid of those people that are around n? Well, you pair them off. You would bring your own friends to try to match them up in order to get n by themselves. I'll show you what I mean. We're going to do a concept that we've done before called zero principle. Again, card in the top right-hand corner for you to refamiliarize yourself with canceling out integers. So if we take a look here, the steps that we need to follow when we're doing cancellation in algebra is that what we want to do is cancel what is furthest away. So n has its two bodyguards right beside it. They're standing on either side of n. You can't even get close to them. And then there's a wall of three people in front of it. This 3 is further away from the n because it's separated by this little plus sign. So let's get rid of that first. So this is what it should look like. You're going to take 2n and move it down. You haven't done anything with it. And then you're going to have the plus 3 here. And in order for you to cancel out plus 3, you're going to subtract 3. And then what I just mentioned was that whatever you do to one side of the scale, you have to do to the other. So if I subtracted 3 from this side, I have to subtract 3 from the other side, and that's going to keep my balance. I want to keep things in balance. And then what I've done here is just canceled something out. So you're going to do one of these. You're going to cancel that out to show that it's gone. And you might think to yourself, oh, okay, well, let me do the same thing to the other side. It's like, whoa, wait a second. We can't do that yet. And the reason we can't do that is because this is equal to 0. This is not zeroed. we already know the answer is going to be 10, but let's rewrite it first. Let's keep doing, just do one thing at a time here. Let's get rid of these 3 friends first, and we'll worry about these other after. That leaves us with 2n. This is zeroed. It's gone. Plus 3, negative 3, they equal 0. We're not even going to do anything. In math, 0, we don't even have to write it. And it's going to be equal to 13 minus 3. Now I have a couple of steps here. I could divide to get rid of these 2 groups, or I can simplify this and make it easier. Let's think about this for a second. If I was to divide this side by 2 to get rid of these 2 n's, I would have to divide this side by 2 n's. And if I think about dividing negative 3 by 2, that's kind of a pain. 13 divided by 2, that's kind of a pain as well. So let's skip that part for now, and let's just simplify this. 13 minus 3 is the same as 10. So let's bring down the 2n again and do 13 minus 3. All I've done is just the math right here. I simplified it. Instead of it being 2 numbers, 13 minus 3, 13 minus 3 is the same as 10. And that leaves me with one-step algebra that I mentioned that we would be seeing earlier. And now again, what we need to do here is we need to find a way to isolate this variable. We got to get this n by itself. So the best way for us to do that is to do the opposite operation with what we see. And in this case, we have 2 groups of n. Those are those 2 groups that we drew up here. In order for us to figure out what's in one group, we have to divide. And we're going to divide by the number of groups. A number divided by itself is always 1. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. And that's going to cancel out these 2's, leaving me with just the n. I finally got n by itself. And n is the same as 10 divided by 2. 10 divided by 2. Now I just have to do the math. N is equal to 10 divided by 2. N is 5. And there's a way that we can check this. Let's take this 5 and plug it all the way back into n. 2 groups of n, or 2 groups of 5, is 10, plus 3 is 13. I know that it worked out. Now let's switch over to this side. What we have here is we have some negative numbers. And oftentimes, when kids start to see negative numbers, they're like, oh no, it's so much different, I can't do it. The concept is exactly the same. What we're going to do is we're going to cancel out everything that we can to get n by itself. I'll show you how it works. We're not going to do anything with negative 3 groups of n. So we're going to bring this down. Negative 3n. We can cancel this out. This would be my first step. Plus 1 minus 1. I want to cancel that out. And that's going to be equal to 8, negative 8 minus 1. What I did to one side, I do to the other. This then cancels, leaving me with negative 3n is equal to negative 8 minus 1. One step at a time. Let's put this together. Simplify it. We want to make it easier for us. Instead of working with 3 numbers, we can find a way to work with 2. So let's do that. Negative 3n is equal to negative 8 minus 1. That's negative 9. Now what I have here is negative 3 groups of n is the same as negative 9. So let's divide. Now this is where a lot of kids get a little confused. What they'll end up doing is dividing it by 3. That's the right digit, but that's not what this number is. This number has a negative sign in front of it, and therefore the number is a negative number. And because we're trying to cancel it out, we need to divide by the negative number, the exact same number. There is a difference between 3 and negative 3. I'd rather have $3 than owe $3. So when you're dividing, it's important for you to remember, take a look for that negative sign. If it's there, you're going to add it there as well. So divide by negative 3, and then divide by negative 3 on the other side as well. These 3's are going to cancel, leaving me with just n by itself. And n is going to be equal to negative 9 divided by negative 3. N is a negative divided by a negative. That's a positive. 9 divided by 3 is 3. And then I just simply need to check my answer. I'm going to plug it into here. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. Negative 9 plus 1 is negative 8. And I've got my answer. So this is solving two-step algebra. Quick recap. First, do what is furthest away from the variable. In this case, plus 3 is. In this case, plus 1 is. Do the opposite of what you see. Plus 3 would be minus 3. Plus 1 would be minus 1. If it was a negative number, you'd add. If it was multiply, you'd divide. If it was division, you would multiply. Use the same numbers. Don't just start making up random numbers. Use the numbers that are there to cancel out. Remember to do both sides. Subtract 3, subtract 3, subtract 1, subtract 1. Simplify is your next step. Instead of working with 3 numbers, work with 2. Instead of working with 3 numbers, work with 2. Then, again, you're in one-step algebra. Just simply do the opposite operation with the number that you see. In this case, both of them were multiplication. So we divide by the number that was there. 2n was divided by 2. Negative 3n was divided by negative 3. Once you have that, you've canceled it out. You've got just the variable by itself. Just do the math. You get your answer. Two-step algebra. By all means, if something doesn't make sense, go back, rewatch the video, pause it as you need to. If something still doesn't make sense, leave a comment down below. I'll see if I can't create another video or help you in some way, shape, or form. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. It would mean a lot to me. Again, making sure that I know that you're using these videos and that they are actually working for you. And I appreciate you taking the time to better yourself with math, and we'll catch you next time in the next video. Thanks.